Welcome
Okay.
to the Purpose Walk podcast. Oh my God, I cannot believe it's the 18th of December already. Where has the year gone? I want to shout out to all of those who've been sending me lots of love and just honest affirmation to say, Ava, you know what? The Vulnerable series has just been so phenomenal. We talked to my son, Mikhail, then we talked about mental health, and I focused on my daughter and our journey, and just really kind of empower and reminded you that you don't have to suffer alone. Now, in the vulnerability series, I really thought that I wanted people who were going to come. I wanted ordinary men and women because, you know, it's all good and well to see Oprah Winfrey on the TV and Jada Pinkett Smith and all those kind of really amazing celebrities. But can you touch them? Can you feel them? Can you just pick up the phone and call them? And for some of us, we may be able to do that. But for others, that's not possible. And so in this vulnerability series, I really wanted to tap into the ordinary women and men who are doing their stuff every day, walking into purpose, but they have been on a path, they've been on a journey, and they're able to share a few nuggets to help you. Now, for those of us who don't remember, like you shouldn't, my name is Dr. Ava Eager Brown. I'm the author of The Mango Girl. I'm a speaker, trainer, and just a chatterbox, really. Here we have a series where we don't edit anything here. So I warn my guests very early that whatever you say here is going to be used. Tonight, however, without me continuing to go on, I really have an amazing special friend on the podcast. She's a sister, she's a friend. And you guys know me. I'm just keeping it real. Somebody who has been very, very much like an angel to me and my kids. We went through a very difficult process in our lives, which I'm going to speak about later on as I go on this path. And she really came there and she was there for our rescue. She's kind. She reminds me of myself in a lot of ways. She's kind. She's caring. I think the nature of her job makes her that way. But I think somewhere on her journey, some of these characteristics were either nature, nurture, or a combination. And so tonight, without me doing anything else, I know that was long, I want to welcome Marsha Deans to the podcast. Marsha, welcome.
Hello, Ava. Thank you for having me on your program.
Now,
Although
girl,
you put me on the spot, but
I love putting you on the spot. But listen to me, girlfriend. I was
real.
just at your house and you just fed me, and I thought, you know what, my belly is full. So whilst my belly is full, let us just talk bountifully just about, you know, who you are, where you've been. And I think tonight I really want to focus on the vulnerability of how God has carried you. Marsha, I'm going to hand this over to you to tell us who you are, a little bit about yourself that you're comfortable with, and then I'm going to throw some questions at you because I really want you to share as much as you can. Don't talk anything that you don't want to share, but as much as you can, a bit of your story and your journey. And then I want you to talk about God's favor. And I know you share with me all the time about God's love and grace. And I want you to inspire and motivate some woman or some man who is stuck in a place that feels like it could never get any better. So over to you.
Okay, so I'll try to. I'm not very good at talking about myself, but where do I start? So at the moment, I'm a nurse, and I really love that profession. It's something that I believe I was called to do. I believe that nursing is my calling, honestly. And you know, when I was a little girl and I was going to primary school in Jamaica, one of the things that they used to ask us to write a lot was composition, myself. And at the end of the composition, you would have to say you were required to say what your ambition was in life. And my ambition was always to become a nurse. But of course I diverted, you know, life happens. And one of the things was I failed biology in Jamaica, and if you fail biology in Jamaica, you just can't study nursing. So I thought that career was out the window. But every time I went to the hospital, I used to admire the nurses walking around doing, you know, their interventions and stuff, liaising with the patient, and I would sit there saying, I want to be a nurse. That should be me. So after taking a few career paths, I ended up as a nurse. So, you know, I know it's a hard job sometimes. Most days are not rewarding, but if it's your calling, then that's what you're gonna do. But the few days that are rewarding, they're just good enough for me. And even going into that career, because I was a chef, lecturer. Then I was into training. I had some businesses. I had 7 failed businesses, by the way, and
But
I'm
can
not
you
saying
just
them in a
pause there
negative
for a
light.
second? Now, I want you to
Yeah,
pause because you're dropping some stuff and you're running away. And I'm thinking, hold
I
on,
am.
because here we don't do it like that. We actually
Right.
lean into it. Now, Marsha,
Okay.
one of the things that we're not afraid of talking on this podcast about is
Mm,
our failed businesses, our failed lives, our failures. And
yes.
simply because we have lived to tell the tale, so we are
Mm-hmm.
of the belief that if you have failed at it, we want to know what you have learned. Why did you
Mm-hmm.
think you failed? And how did you come out of it? So choose any 2 of your businesses. Tell us why first of all, what were the 7 businesses?
So I had a trading company. I used to do food safety training, and I used to cater for my own events, weddings, Caribbean and African funerals, and just events, office parties, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I really believed in doing them high end, good quality then. So I think for various reasons, whatever the reasons why they fail, because I believe in doing things properly. You know me, Ava, I do things properly. But I've got so much experience. I've got a wealth of experience through the things that, that my businesses that fail. I now have a lot of experience from that. But there was one time I used to walk around and regret thinking, I'm a failure. I tried this, that, and the other, and it didn't work. I had a cleaning company. I used to clean after renovation, and I clean offices. And I had a market stall at one time selling children's clothes from France.
Mm-hmm.
And I had I set up a care company I set up, and I lost that business. I spent a lot of money. I lost that business when I lost my house. And that one really knocked me back. And so I ended up here in Northern Ireland. Came here to work after a messy divorce, lost my house, lost everything because I married this guy who tricked me. He
Mm-hmm.
just married for his papers, but he didn't. And then in the end, he took my house and everything. So I ended up here in Northern Ireland. And that for me was a journey. It was very difficult time. I went to the brink of depression. And
Mm.
there were days when I really asked the Lord. I would take my days off. I'd work 4 days, and then I got 3 days off, and I'd stay in my dormitory room, and I would just cry, and I asked,
Ah,
God, are you there? You know
you said a
so
dormitory, Marsha. I mean, I'm gonna pause.
yeah.
I'm gonna go back.
Mm,
So you had the businesses, you failed, you pick your. What I liked about the thread of this is that for you to have had 7 failed businesses, you kept going. What is the
mm,
one thing you learned out of that? Because we want to talk about failure, but we want to say to people, what did you actually learn? What's the lesson
yeah.
you learned from failing 7 businesses? What was that one thing you learned from that?
Um, to be honest, it's more than one things, but one of the things that I learned from it was, I really believe in reading the word of God for myself. And
Mm-hmm.
it says a good man falls 7 times.
Mm.
And and you know what? I've learned not to give up, because is very simple. When I was young, my mother ran away from home for the
Mm.
3rd time when I was 10 years old. And I grew up with everybody and anybody. And I always said that when I have children, I'd never leave them. So my children, just the thought of having my children,
Mm-hmm.
that kept me going. And regardless of the failures, I just told myself I had to get up, because I didn't want to fail my children,
So your
you
children
know?
are why. So
Mhm.
despite the
Mhm.
failures, like your kids was that why that kept you going. Wow, that's
Yeah,
powerful.
my
Again,
children, yeah.
you just keep dropping these things, and I have to be. I'm in my head. I'm making mental notes. So let's talk about the
Mm.
dormitory, the relationship, because I want to talk about the relationship from you moving from losing your own house to being in a
Mhm.
dormitory, 3 days depressed. I want to talk
Mhm.
about depression And I want to talk about you talking about your mother, almost the abandonment, because here's the thing, Marsha, those three things you've just touched, I have all of them. You know,
Yes.
somebody else who's listening, this podcast has really been helping a number of people. It is aired globally, and we might think that, oh my God, I don't want anybody to know my stuff.
Yeah.
But stuff sometimes helps somebody else.
Very much
Your
so.
stuff sometimes helps somebody else heal, and that's the reason why, despite my life being a mess sometimes, I tend to do this podcast. Tell me, I mean, without going into details, but how did it feel, Marsha? And it's a very common thread for a lot of women and men to find themselves out of a messy divorce. I'm being one of them, and find yourself. In your case, you lost your house, but you're living. Can you imagine? Tell me the psychological impact. Let me say that word right. The psychological impact from losing your own home to living on a dormitory, but also moving from a country to another country, technically, because of a messy divorce. Tell me, without going into too much details and exposing too much, what was that like for you psychologically?
It was horrible because, you know why it became horrible? Because I was here in Northern Ireland away from my family. I've never lived away from family, relatives. And for me, when I was in London and going through my stuff, most of the time it probably didn't bother me so much because I had my friends and relatives and, you know, people who would even pray for me, or you could go around to somebody and, you know, just chill out in the evening. But then here in Northern Ireland, I was stuck in the dormitory because literally I had nowhere to live. And in the dormitory on the weekends, it was only my car there because most of the people stayed in the dormitories because they lived down in the south or in other parts of Northern Ireland. So on the weekend, I wouldn't see anybody. So I just took to my room and I would just cry. I would bring a bucket to my room, and I would just I wouldn't leave the room until I was ready to go to work.
Wow.
So it was very, very difficult, I tell you, very difficult. But, you know, it somehow, one of my best friends, when she realized that I was just getting into depression, she called me every day, like 3 times a day. And that really helped me. You know, it wasn't God saying, Marsha, here I am, here I am, present himself in the form of a man in my room. You know, it was my friend, and I believe God really used her to just encourage me. Marsha, did you eat? Marsha, did you have a shower? And there were days I didn't have a shower, Ava, because, it was like I just lost everything, every single thing. So, but here I am today, and I am so grateful for where I'm at. And, I think, because the reason why I can't think about myself alone, because when I was growing up, it was strangers who helped me all throughout my life. So I've always wanted to give something back. So for me to give somebody something is nothing really, no. It's not. I really, but I am so grateful. I'm grateful, and I'm still learning. I believe you will never stop learning in your entire life. And the key for me in all this is, and I've spoke to you about this, the key for me is not to be bitter, because that's the worst thing that can happen to you as an individual when you face multiple traumas in your entire life, that you end up being a bitter person. Yeah.
Oh, that is so powerful. I love the fact that you said, you just had to keep on going. But I understand what it feels like to be away from your friends and family and that isolation. But do you feel that sometimes God puts you in those situations, almost like in the desert, because he wants to rebuild you? Do you think that's what, did you ever get angry at God and say, God, how could you do this?
Yes.
Or did you look and say, well, this is a desert moment for growth? How did you look at it?
It's funny you should ask that, because I tried to leave Northern Ireland, and even this year, I don't know if I told you that, but I packed up my car and I said I'm going back to London, and because I thought doors were opening for me in London to go back, because I wanted to be with my family. But I just saw where all the doors were closed and I had to come back. And I was involved in a voluntary project in Belfast with the African and Caribbean Organization on Northern Ireland. And it was only then I realized that it was my time here, me being here in Northern Ireland was just God doing, because yes, God wants to build you and grow you and stretch you, but also He wants you to help other people as well. So,
wow,
yeah.
that's a lot there. I mean, I wanted to ask you the question of, and it's almost a sensitive one, as a nurse who's in a healthcare profession, who's looking after people and being depressed. I mean, I'm sure there are millions and millions of doctors and nurses who have their own personal stuff going on every day and they're suffering from depression. How difficult is that when you're juggling medications and injections? And I mean, because that's so critical right there.
Well, I tell you, you are really asking. You'd think that we prepped for this interview, but we didn't, right?
No, we didn't.
Okay, we didn't, because you just put me on the spot. But that is a key question that you asked me. There was an article published in the media this year, and I'm not going to call it in name of any newspapers because I cannot remember, but it was one of the main newspapers. 300 nurses committed suicide in the last 7 years.
Yes,
okay, that's one. Right. And there's another answer I will give to you. So you're going through your own trauma and your own stresses. You have to keep working because it's the one salary to keep a roof or to keep paying your bills or whatever. And there was one night, I'll give you this quick scenario. One night, I went to work. I was going through a really rough time. And actually, when I was walking across the car park to go into work from the dormitories, I had my both hands up, and I was saying, God, I'm so tired. I can't do this. Please help me. You're the only one who can help me through this shift tonight. And I went, and there was a patient who had a history of depression and self-harm, and she came in, and I was looking after her, and they said, the other nurses are like, oh, she's one of the regulars. She's so rude. She saw this, that, whatever. And I don't normally take that. I experience people for myself. Went in, and the woman, she had taken an overdose, and we were detoxing her. And I just, hello, how are you? And blah, blah, blah. And I said, can I make you a cup of tea? And she said, yeah, you can make me a cup of tea. Went to make a cup of tea. When I came back, on approaching the door, I heard this banging, bang, 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 bang. It's her head. She was banging against the metal rails of the bed. And I said, what's the matter? What's the matter? What's the matter? Why you're banging your head like this? You're going to hurt yourself. And she told me, because I can't say what she said.
Yes, of course.
She told me my own life story.
Wow.
This thing that happened to her told me her own life story, that she had got married, and the two people she got married to took everything she had, and the second marriage, she just lost it and she started self-harming. And because of that, her children don't want to know her. She don't know her grandchildren. Wow. And she just keeps self-harming, and one day she's gonna kill herself. And you see, when she was talking, the tears was coming up in my throat. I welled up in my throat so much that I had to just console and contain myself, because as a nurse, you have to be empathetic.
Yes.
You can't be sympathy. You have to show empathy. So you cannot
cry.
You can't be crying in front of the patient.
I know that, but I'm saying, she's talking your story, and
she told me my own story.
Cry,
yes.
And
yes.
and in your own pain, you have to push your own into the back and literally attend to her. It's crazy you said that to me, Marsha, because today I called, and one of the things that these guys know about me, I'm very open. Today I cried so much. I cried so hard. I had a situation dealing with in my own life, and I've shared that with you privately. And I called a former client who's also a friend of mine, and I shared with her because of her professional, her clinical experience. And I called her to talk about myself, and I can actually hear the tears in my own back of my throat. And she said to me, Ava, thank you so much. Remember, I called her about my own stuff because I was in a really bad place.
Yes.
And she said, thank you for for this for carrying me this year. And I said to her, she said, thank you for carrying me when I didn't even have any money. You coached me, you carried me. And I said to her, no problem. And she said, Ava, do you know The Color Purple? I said, yes. She said, in The Color Purple, and for those of us who watched the film, please, if I massacred it, don't kill me, okay? She said, in the film, when I think it was Oprah, or the girl was in the supermarket, and she couldn't afford to buy food, I'm paraphrasing, and Whoopi Goldberg took the basket and shopped for her and carried her and paid for it or something like that. She said, Ava, that's what you did for me this year. Now, in that moment, she started crying. Remember, I am the one who called her.
Yes.
This is today. And she started crying. And she said, thank you for carrying me. Yeah. But I just welted up, and we both kind of started almost crying on the phone because I suddenly forgot my own stuff. Because she was there needing her own stuff quenched, and just she was in gratitude. And sometimes what I'm trying to say, that sometimes God put other things in front of us so that we see how lucky we are, or that we're not walking alone.
Yes, because it was at that moment when the woman told me a story, and I said, all I could say, in my mind was, Lord, thank you for holding me. Thank you for thank you. I said, Lord, thank you for cushioning me. That was the exact word I said. Because here was a woman who went through that same thing as I did, and she lost it. Because she said she wasn't going to stop, and she killed herself.
Yes.
And I said, God, I thank you for cushioning me. Those are my exact words.
You. Yes. I sometimes see myself like an egg. And God is just having me in this nest because I'm fragile. And some events that have happened to us they've left us fragile and broken and weak. This is my vulnerability series for those of us who are joining us, by the way. And only God can cushion us and carry us and hold us so closely that we are not breaking, or we have not broken beyond the point where we can't come back. Because I can talk, I've been broken. Okay?
Yes.
I've been bruised.
Yes.
I've been battered. I've lost $100,000 in the last 2 years to people I trusted.
Yes.
People who I was meant to be able to look up to and look after me and do stuff for me. I'm talking about my own kind, my own black women and my own black men. And I'm not having a go at my color, because it happens in every tribe, every color, every creed. But my own sisters and brothers who were meant to be able to look after me. And Marsha, when I lost that money, I nearly lost my mind.
Oh yeah, because I've had similar situation. I lost a minimum of £85,000 in the last 3 years in 2016.
Marsha, some people have never seen that kind of money in their lives, and it takes a lifetime to work that money. It takes a lifetime. When you're not a CEO of a company, it takes a lifetime to work that money.
Of course. But you see, when I was at my lowest of my low, I remember I said I was on the way to work, walking across the car park to work, and I was asking God to help me. And at the time, I was suffering from high blood pressure, and I didn't know until I collapsed one morning because of my situation. But all I could say in my spirit was, Lord, thank you for cushioning me. And that was the beginning of my breakthrough. So
thank you for cushioning me. Sometimes that's all you can say. Thank you for
cushioning me. Those are my exact words, Ava, because here was a woman who was so broken and distraught, and she didn't see any reason for living anymore. And I had gone through the similar scenarios, and yet I was able to work.
Yes.
She didn't have a clue that I had gone through the same thing that she went through, but here I was holding it together.
Yeah.
So
and your
I
kids were
thank
your
God for
why.
thank God for cushioning me. Those are my exact words.
I'm gonna, I'm taking those words today, Marsha, because today's one of my days when I just need to be cushioned. But you said something that has struck with me. You said that your mother basically abandoned you, but you were there for your children.
Oh, yes.
You're not gonna let go your children.
Yes, I refuse to carry on that cycle. I refused to carry on that cycle. Never left my children. And my children, the hardships I've been through in my life and with my children, those are the hardships that make me a tenacious person, because I am.
Wow.
It made me resilient because I am. Eva, I'm resilient. I know that you're a resilient
she's
person.
Not just resilient, she's beautiful. Have you seen her? She's a beautiful girl, beautiful black skin, and so resilient. Like Marsha, I listened to your journey, and I remember when we first connected. We connected because you were going to look after my daughter for me. When I was trying to get her somewhere to stay, and we've connected since. And Marsha, let me say something to you. Women like you are. When I see them giving awards to women, I say sometimes I believe they have not even found the right woman, because somebody like you need the award for just bouncing back.
A lot of people say that, Eva, about me. That I always bounce
back.
Yeah.
Marsha, today when I was at my low, because I was at a low, and guys, I'm not afraid to talk about my low. This is my vulnerability series. And I look at it and I said to myself, there are some people who couldn't go through what we go through. They didn't even get this far.
No. And that's deep. It's true. It's profound. But it's so true. It's so true. But you don't plan these things, Eva. Let's not forget. We don't plan for these things to happen. This life, and we don't plan that. Yeah, I'm gonna get out of it. Yeah, I'm gonna bring it on, because no. It's just that. Somehow, the mercies of God
Let's talk
is
about
just
that. Tell me, what part of your journey has faith really played a big part in? Do you think that had you not been a woman of faith, that you would have coped differently? Take it away and tell me, because I think sometimes because not everybody who watches or listens to what I do have got faith or are people of faith. We are people of faith. My faith has gotten even stronger lately. Tell me, what part does faith play in your life, or played on the journey when you lost your relationship, when you lost your marriage, when you're in the dormitory, when you wanted to give up? What part did faith play? And do you think that if you didn't have faith, your journey would have been different?
Well, you really put me on the spot tonight, I must tell you, but your questions are, let me just tell you, it's very simple. My life was marked out for a purpose. When I was 15 years old, I can only give you a scenario to answer this. When I was 15 years old, I was being treated like a Cinderella. I was a slave. I was just being horribly treated. I was living with my cousins, and I had to wash, cook, and clean for them. They didn't want me to do my homework. And I just started praying, and I just said, God, I need you to just do something for me. And I felt the call of God on my life. I felt like my life was not meant to be just of my own. And I gave my life to the Lord, and I was thrown on the street at 15 years old. Went to church, and I got saved because I felt this calling on me. And I went to church on the Sunday. One of my cousins took me to church, and I got saved. And my other cousin who was responsible for me, she threw my things on the street. I was homeless, and the pastors had to take me in. Wow. And I went back to church the same night, and I wanted to get baptized, and they said to me, my cousin was outside the church gate. She came, and she had this, the fan belt that spins the thing in the engine, and she was wheeling it and saying she's gonna beat me if I go down and get baptized in the water. And the pastors called me out with my baptism going on, and they said, you need to choose, what are you gonna do? And I said, I've given my life to the Lord, and I'm gonna get baptized. It doesn't matter what's gonna happen. I just wanna give my life to the Lord. And they said to each other, the husband and the wife, pastor, they said, what would Jesus do?
Wow.
What would Jesus do? And they said, okay, are you sure you want to get baptized? And I said, yes, because I've given my life to the Lord, and this is the only proof I've got to show, so I'm going to do it. And the scripture that came to me during the week when I just felt convicted was Isaiah 41 verse 8 to 20. I was reading it. And when I went to church this Sunday, that was what was being preached. And it said, but you, Israel, are my servant, Jacob, whom I have chosen. The descendants of Abraham, my friend. This is on a scroll in my house, Ava.
I was about to, that's your life scripture.
That's my life scripture. And it said, you, Marsha, whom I have taken, when your mother ran away, your father ran away, when my mother and my father forsook me, the Lord took me up. You who I have taken from the ends of the earth and called from its farthest region, and I said to you, you are my servant. I have chosen you and have not cast you away. I had nobody, but guess what? They said, what would Jesus do? Well, here he was saying, in the words of the Father, fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. Yes, I will help you. Yes, I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. And be said, behold, all those who were incensed against you shall be ashamed and disgraced. Wow. They shall be as nothing, and those who strive with you shall perish. You shall seek them and not find them. Those who contend with you, those who war against you, shall be as nothing, as a non-existent thing. For what? I, the Lord your God, will hold your right hand, saying, fear not, I will help you. In the book of Isaiah, fear that I don't know how many times the Lord told Isaiah or his prophet, fear not. Yes. Fear not. He said, I am your redeemer. I will help you. I will make you a new threshing sledge with sharp teeth. You shall thresh the mountains and beat them small. So the tenacity, the resilience, that's where it comes from.
Wow.
Okay, yes, it's very important. And I'm not saying this for people to do it. This is me. This is my life story. This is the word of God over my life. Because when I felt that God was calling me into ministry, and look, my ministry is not on the pulpit preaching and telling people to repent. My ministry is a ministry of helps. Okay. And I went to America to visit my friend, and she took me to a prayer meeting where all the pastors of the East Gate of Atlanta were praying, and they called me to pray for me. And it was like there was smoke in the top of the church. It's like a light smoke. It was like an essence. The Spirit of God came down, and they started to pray Isaiah 41 verse 8 to 20 over my life. Right? They said, this is the word of God for your life. Walk in it. Yes. Okay.
So you're saying that your faith has been what has carried you through. You're saying that God had a mandate for you. You're saying that Isaiah 41 is your scripture. You're saying that basically, guess what? Yea, though I walk through the valleys of the shadow of death, I'm not going to fear anything, because you're saying that your God has been with you, and you know that that's why you're still here. Wow. Marsha, this is definitely such a powerful piece, and I wish we could talk all day, all night, but there's so much about you. You're a nurse, you're a carer, you've lost your husband, you've lost your house, you've been depressed, you've saved lives, you walk in Christ, you're a giver, your door is open to all, and you know that there's so much more to do. Tell me, Marsha, if I were to ask you, what is your favorite quote? Is there a one quote that you keep saying, you know what, no matter what happens, this is the quote I go to all the time. This is the quote that covers all that I'm going through. It doesn't need to be a Bible scripture. It needs to be a quote. And the reason I said a quote is because I know a lot of you biblical scholars are going to go to Isaiah 41. Now that Marsha has to with that. But what's that one quote that keeps you going, or that one person, like, like an Oprah Winfrey, or that one person who's saying something that reminds you and keeps you on track? Who is that, or what is that?
Oh, that's a difficult question, but there is one that I actually kept a journal when I was buying my house. But Nelson Mandela had this quote saying, "It always seems impossible until it's done."
Wow. Powerful.
Yeah.
What a powerful legacy that man has left behind.
Yes.
It always seems impossible
until it's done.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I needed that one today. I'm telling you, I chose to do this podcast today on a whim. Literally, it was so impromptu. And as I listen to you, Marsha, and for those who are listening, there's so much you can take away from Marsha's story here. There's so much resilience and tenacity, so much hope. Despite going through the ravine, she always kept hope going. And her children were her why. What is your why? What is that thing that you're going through today and you feel that it's impossible to carry on? Well, here is a woman who's saying to you, guess what? I lost my house. I ended up in a dormitory. I'm a nurse. I was living in a dormitory after I was married with my children, and I picked myself up. And the thing that came to me was 1 Kings 17 is become one of my favorite scriptures lately, where I'm a Christian and I don't hide my faith. I'm not perfect. So you all don't go say Abel said she was perfect. But I keep remembering how God told Elijah that he was to go to the Kerith ravine when things were hard and there was a drought. And God said, the raven will feed you. And as sure as night turned to day, and you all know the scripture. You can go, and when the ravine was gonna dry up, the brook was gonna dry up, God told him to move, and he went and found the woman with the bread and the oil, and the rest of the story. But Marsha, I feel as though in your story, as it is in mine, and probably the same for many of us who are listening, that there was always this brook, and the raven is always there to feed us because we lean on the word of God. And that's what I want to leave with somebody today, that if you are a believer in Christ, no matter how hard it gets, and trust me, I know how hard it can get. I've seen that in many, many different milestones of my life, but I always can come out to say that there's always going to be a brook, and a raven will be there to feed you. Marsha, any last words? What's next for you? What does the next, the next 5 years look like for you? If you want to just take a quick minute and share that with us, what can we expect? What does the future hold in your mind for you?
So two things. I want to just say this before I say my last word, that this being your vulnerability series, Ava, part of it, that when the Lord said don't fear, sometimes we fear because we're human. You do fear, the fear comes, but for some reason you keep going. But I made a vision board. I've never made a vision board in my life, but I've had like a 5-year diary or a yearly planner or whatever. I've made a vision board, and on it, one of the things I want to do, my dream, is to travel and work. And part of the reason for traveling and working is because I want to help people and tell people my story. And whilst I'm working and just being out there, but also to enjoy that part of my life too, because I like to travel. And we don't know what that entails. I don't know if it will come to pass. Don't know if I'll see it will manifest, but I'm hopeful. But one of the things I want to be I want to be a better person, and I want to be that pearl.
Not many people say that. And Marsha, whilst you're on here, we might as well plug it. Marsha does some trips to Ghana. Marsha, don't take too long, but tell us about when the next trip is and how we can quickly what's involved and where we can contact you for that. Where can we find you for that?
So I have been developing this, it's kind of a project really, where I take people from Africa, Caribbean, and American background, really, because those were the descendants of slaves, as you per se. But back to their roots in Ghana, because the evidence was there, and the big fortresses by the sea are there where you can go and see where slavery all started from, the transatlantic slave trade. And people have been really interested in it. It's a mind-blowing. Barack Michelle Obama went there, and they left a plaque there as well. It's a life-changing, mind-blowing experience, very humbling. Our next trip is in May. Our next trip is May 2020. I believe it's the 7th to the 20th of May. And but we also go and visit, like last time we had a safari as well. And there are other different cultural places and sites that you can see and just learn about Ghana, and see what our African roots are like. So if anyone is interested, they can contact you, Ava, and you can send them my number, because what I do is just create a WhatsApp group and put all the information there. So here we
Amazing.
are.
And I know that I'm looking forward to one of those trips. So anybody who's thinking about it, guys, jump on this. I know the cost is amazing. I can tell you more about that if you want to come and check it out. But here's the thing. You may not be from an African descent, but why not go and see Africa through the eyes with a group of people who already know how it works, has done it. She's been doing it for a while now. And I know the last trip was seriously amazing. I love what Marsha said as I wrap down this thing, because I've got a meeting in a minute myself. And as Marsha said that she wants to be a better person, to be very honest with you, I've think it in my head. I've never verbalized it. Most time people say, oh, I want to have my talk show. I want to do this. She simply said, I want to be a better version of myself. That is so powerful, because not often we think like that. And so, guys, I'm going to leave you with those last words from Marsha Deans. I want to thank her for being on the program. I know that she's thinking about writing her story, and there's so much more for her to come. But most importantly, she said she wants to be a better version of herself. And I'm gonna charge you with that, because one of the things that when we go through these things out of life, one of the best things that we can become is better versions of ourselves. And so, Marsha, I thank you for being here. I know that your story and just all that you've shared is going to bless somebody. And I just want to say to all of those who are listening, thank you so much for ever watching and listening to the podcast. If you have not got my book yet, The Mango Girl, you have to go and get it. Links are going to be in the details of the show. If you haven't yet, check out all that I do and serve as a coach, a speaker, a trainer, then let us know. But more importantly, when you listen to the podcast, listen to the whole vulnerability series. There's so much there for you. So until next time, it's the Purpose Walk podcast with your girl, Dr. Ava Eagle Brown. Like and share and tag and give it to somebody who this message is going to help and serve and support. But more importantly, help them, as Marsha say, to become a better version of themselves. Bye for now. And next time, I hope to continue in this series, because I think it's full time that we strip off the layers of the onion and show ourselves for how we truly are, so that somebody next door can benefit from our nuggets and our pearls. Have a good night. God bless.